After 26 races and thousands of miles across the country, we are finally ready to start the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. I'm Brandon Monroe, and alongside me is Mark Chavez. And Mark, take it away. Set the field for everybody. What are we looking at going into the round of 16?
Well, it's been 26 races, 16 winners, although Kurt unfortunately not joining us in the playoffs. So 15 race winners in the playoffs, and they've each had their own season trying to get here. And the first seed is Chase Elliott, who first punched his ticket into the playoffs with a win at Dover, then went on to win at Nashville, Atlanta, and Pocono for a series-leading 4 wins and taking his first regular season championship. He also leads the series in top 5s with 10, top 10s with 17, an average finish with 8.5, and also laps led with 719. Our second seed is Joey Logano, who first punched his ticket by punting William Byron at Darlington. He also won the inaugural race at Gateway, as well as the inaugural race at the Coliseum, although that is not a points-paying race. And he actually managed to climb up into second for the regular season points. He is tied for 6th in top 5s with 7, 7th with top 10s with 12, and has the 5th best average finish in the series of 14.0. Average finish, by the way, is just of full-time drivers. Top 10s, top 5s, that's everybody, but average finish is just full-time drivers. That way, David Reagan, who has finished like top 10 in 2 of his races, is not going to tilt the scales there. Coming into the playoffs, seeded 3rd is Ross Chastain. He got his first career win at COTA and also won a few weeks later at Talladega. He finished 6th in the regular season standings and was actually tied for the most top 5s with 10, 2nd in top 10s with 14, and has the 8th best average finish at a 14.6. Seeded 4th is Kyle Larson, who locked into the playoffs week 2 with a win at Fontana and then wound up winning again at Watkins Glen. He finished 5th in the regular season point standings, was tied for the most top 5s in the series with 10, is 4th in top 10s with 13, and has the 6th best average finish with a 14.3. Our 5th seed is William Byron, who won the first race at New Atlanta and was the first repeat winner, not just of the season, but in the next-gen car, when he won at Martinsville just a few weeks later. He finished 10th in the regular season standings, but as we all know, has had a pretty horrid last half of the year or so, and ranks 14th in top 5s with 4, 22nd in top 10s with 5, and 20th in average finish with an 18.1. Our 6th seed is Denny Hamlin. He got what at the time felt like a Hail Mary win at Richmond, and then collected a second win at the Coke 600, but has recovered from a terrible start to the season to wind up finishing 15th in the standings. He comes into the playoffs ranked 11th in top 5s with 5, 19th in top 10s with 6, and 23rd in average finish with a 19.0. Ryan Blaney is our 7th seed and our only winless driver into the playoffs, getting in when Kurt got concussed at Pocono. He finished 3rd in the regular season standings and ranked 4th in top 5s with 8, 7th in top 10s with 12, 4th in average finish with a 13.7. Our 8th seed is Tyler Reddick, who finally got his first win of his career at Road America and then proceeded to collect a second win at the Indy Road Course. He finished 11th in the regular season standings, just missing out on a bonus point there, and ranked 4th in top 5s with 8, 10th in top 10s with 11, and 13th in average finish with a 16.7. Kevin Harvick broke a nearly 2-year-long winless streak at Michigan to get into the playoffs and is our 9th seed. He also then became the first and so far only driver to win back-to-back races in the next-gen car when he won just the next week at Richmond. He finished 9th in the regular season standings, ranked 6th in top 5s with 7, 4th in top 10s with 13, and has the 3rd best average finish with a 13.3. Christopher Bell is our 10 seed. He won at Loudon to secure his spot in the playoffs, and similar to Denny Hamlin, recovered from a pretty bad start to the season, although certainly not as bad as Denny's, to climb all the way up to 7th in the regular season standings. He ranks 6th in top 5s with 7, 2nd in top 10s with 14, and has the 7th best average finish with a 14.5. Kyle Busch got what was a miracle win at Dirt Bristol, and it was a very fortunate one as it has ensured his spot in the playoffs, as he is our 11th seed. He finished 8th in the regular season standings, although similar to Byron, certainly had a pretty, not as bad as Byron's, but a pretty bad stretch coming into the playoffs. He ranks 9th in top 5s with 6, 4th in top 10s with 13, and has the 9th best average finish with a 15.6. Chase Briscoe is our 12th seed, and he is the third of 5 drivers in the playoffs to get their first career win this season when he won at Phoenix. He finished 17th in regular season standings, also ranked 17th in top 5s, 24th in top 10s with 3 top 5s, and 24th in average finish with a 19.0. Daniel Suarez was the 4th driver in the playoffs to get their first win of the year when he won at Sonoma. He finished 13th in the regular season standings, ranked 9th in top 5s with 6, 11th in top 10s with 10, and 12th in average finish with a 16.5 to be our 13th seed. Austin Cindric is our 14th seed, and while he is the 5th and final driver on this list to get his first career win, he was the first one to do it this season when he won the Daytona 500 in what was just, I think you believe he was still in single-digit starts at the time, and although he wound up finishing 14th in the regular season standings, it was very good he won the Daytona 500, as he would not be in the playoffs if he didn't. He ranked 11th in top 5s with 5, 15th in top 10s with 8, but he is 10th in average finish with a 15.7. Alex Bowman stole a win at Vegas to secure his spot in the playoffs and is our 15th seed. He finished 12th in the regular season standings and ranked 17th in top 5s with 3, 11th in top 10s with 10, and has the 11th best average finish in the series with a 15.7. The last driver, our 16th seed, was also the last driver to make it into the playoffs, as Austin Dillon scored a walk-off win in the regular season finale at Daytona. He finished 19th in the regular season standings, ranks 14th in top 5s with 4, 15th in top 10s with 8, and 13th in average finish, 16.7, as many people have pointed out since he made the playoffs, actually the same average finish that Tyler Reddick has. And that is our playoff grid. The first round gets underway at Darlington just this coming weekend, Labor Day weekend. It's the Southern 500, always a very prestigious race, and I have Kevin Harvick punching his way into the round of 12, taking the win at Darlington. Brandon, who do you have?
I'm going with Denny Hamlin. Pretty strong here in the spring. Had some issues there late in the race. I think this is the type of track where the Toyotas might be pretty strong, and just given his history here, I think he's a pretty safe bet to run up front, and I got him going to victory lane yet again in the Southern 500.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Denny took the win. Just with Harvick's recent speed, he had a top 5 car here in the spring. Over the last 10 races, his average finish here is 3.9. The following week, we head over to Kansas for the second race of the round of 16. And I have Chase Elliott taking the win here. He was pretty good in the spring, it was still spring, I think. Was running in the top 5 when he had a tire go down. Has had a good history at Kansas. I think Chase Elliott will get his 5th win of the season at Kansas.
I'm going with Christopher Bell for Kansas. Toyotas have been good on the mile-and-a-half tracks, and I think he's just been the most consistent one right now. I know people might think that's a little bit of a reach. I know he does have the win at New Hampshire, but that really is his track. I mean, we've gone into it before. Very, very good at New Hampshire. That win, not much of a surprise, despite what the odds makers would say.
We close out the round of 16 at Bristol, and I have Kyle Larson getting his 3rd win of the season, winning the Bristol night race, punching his ticket into the round of 12.
I'm going with his teammate here, Chase Elliott. Probably should have won this race last year. The very least, probably should have gotten a top 5 finish. Things didn't work out. He's been very good at Bristol, just hasn't been able to close the deal, at least in the points races. Did win the All-Star race when it was here in 2020. I think Chase is going to close out the round, punch his ticket, get some more playoff points, set him up for a nice round of 12 run and beyond.
After Bristol, we have our first elimination. Obviously, I have Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson all locked in. But I also have Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric making it through to the round of 12, meaning I have Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, and I think this one might surprise some people, Kyle Busch being eliminated in the first round.
So obviously I got Denny, Chase and Christopher Bell advancing to the round of 12. I also have Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, and Austin Dillon. My 4 guys out: William Byron, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez. I think probably out of these 4, and the one that might come as the biggest surprise to people is Suarez. I feel like Trackhouse, while they've still been good, they've kind of been slipping up. Suarez, he's definitely been the number 2 guy on that team. I feel like, in terms of just his Cup career, it doesn't have a lot of really, pressure-packed moments. I think that might come back to affect him in this round, and it's tough because there are a couple guys there. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle had issues in the first round, and like you said, you have him knocked out, but I think somebody like Kyle Busch could lean on that experience. He could kind of sneak through. 3 of these guys here, Briscoe, Byron, and Bowman, I think we could agree they've probably been some of the more disappointing drivers, at least through the second half of the year. Probably even further out for a couple of those 2. It's been rough for them, and I haven't seen anything that makes me think they're going to turn it around. So 3 pretty easy outs for me. Suarez was definitely the one that it's not going to shock me either way, but you got to pick somebody, and I'm going with Suarez to be bumped out here.
Obviously, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to think Austin Dillon gets eliminated. He's very good at Darlington, but if he doesn't have a great Darlington, it's not hard to imagine him not having the speed to get through at Kansas and Bristol, just with how competitive the field's been. Mm-hmm. Bowman, I was Byron. So those 2 I had as the 2 getting eliminated. Then I had basically that next group: Byron, Bowman, and Kyle Busch. Just because of Kyle's recent struggles, I don't think something's going to magically switch in the playoffs. And obviously Bowman and Byron's recent struggles as well. Byron's outpointed Bowman over the last 10 races by not an incredible amount, but a decent amount. Byron and Kyle are really close to each other. Obviously, that includes Kyle's DQ at Pocono, or otherwise he'd be a good bit further ahead. But Byron has had more speed than at least Alex Bowman, and has probably had close to the speed overall that Kyle has had. They just both, at this point, it's kind of just feels like who's going to not have things go wrong more. There's a reason that despite all his troubles, Byron still managed to hang on to 10th in points. So they get stage points. They run up near the front. They just don't finish there. So this will be a crazy year, I think. Mm-hmm. Crazy playoffs. As we head into the next round, the first race is Texas, where I have Ryan Blaney taking the win. He won the only race he's won this year, the All-Star race. Texas has also just historically been a really good track for him. So I would not be surprised at all if he gets that first one of the season at Texas.
I also have Ryan Blaney at Texas. Penske was really good there in general in the All-Star race. Blaney has been pretty good there since they reconfigured the track as well. So I just like this, just where Texas is for him, and I think it's a good way to start the round.
For the next week, we go to Talladega, and I have the same thing I had in the Truck Series, which was a non-playoff guy winning Talladega. And this year, I think it'll be Brad Keselowski. I would not be surprised he goes into Talladega, keeps his winning streak alive in terms of winning a race a year, and gets his first win as a team owner at Talladega.
As a Brad Keselowski fan, I would very much like that. I, too, think it is going to be a non-playoff driver at Dega because, again, the whole logic going into Daytona was there's a lot of good plate drivers out there that don't have a win yet this year, and that remains the case even with Austin Dillon off there. I'm going to go with Eric Jones. He's been pretty good at the plate track so far this year. Very close to winning Dega in the spring. I think they are going to break through. You're going to have a nice moment with the 43 car in victory lane, and I'm sure they wish they were in the playoffs, but if they could end the season with a win in any of these last 10 races, major success for that team. So Eric Jones, victory lane, Talladega.
We close out the round of 12 at the Roval, where I have Chase Elliott taking home the checkered flag. I just feel like I'd be shocked if he goes through a whole year, top 5, honestly, top 3 cars at every road course except for Coda. I expect him to have one at Roval too. And it would just shock me if he gets through and does, with all the wins he has already this season, doesn't win on a road course. So I have Chase Elliott securing a spot in the round of 8, winning at the Roval.
I also have Chase. Same reasons as you. He's just so good on the road courses. It'd be very surprising if he ended the season without a road course win. And I mean, he's probably the best driver at this track. So,
in terms of who I have making it to the round of 8, obviously Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott, as I have them winning. I also have Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric making it through to the round of 8. I have Ross Chastain, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, and Kevin Harvick all being eliminated. For Harvick, just Dega and the Roval, which even he's been a little bit better on road courses this year, but the Roval always, I mean, even last year he was running okay and then walled himself, and Talladega he hasn't, I feel like, had the best luck at plate tracks lately. Byron, I think if he makes it to the round of 12, it'll just be barely to begin with. And I don't know, just something in my gut says in the round of 12, Denny and Ross are just going to obliterate each other. So that's why I have them all going home.
So my drivers advancing to the round of 8. Obviously, I have Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. I also have Austin Cindric. Rounding out the last 5 here, we have Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, and Joey Logano. I want to touch on Austin Cindric real quick here because I think this is a very easy round for him to get through. Again, Penske, very good in the All-Star race. So was he at Texas. Talladega, he's been one of the better plate racers this year. I think he has 3 top 5 finishes in the 5 races so far, and that does include Atlanta. But he's definitely shown he could get it done at these types of tracks. And then you end the round with the Roval. And we know his background in road course racing. I think this is a very favorable round for him. If he could get there, if he could just keep the car clean in the first round, I think Cindric getting to the round of 8, which might sound crazy to a lot of people, is very much in play.
I think the only difference is, did you have Denny? No, I think you had Harvick making the round of 8.
I had Harvick making the round of 8. And really, what it came down to that for me was Hamlin. He's been awful at these plate tracks this year. He's had nothing go his way. You can make like the argument
Daytona,
he's due for a good finish.
First Daytona was, I'm pretty sure, his first DNF in the 500 he's ever had.
Yep.
They just have had rotten luck, and like it just doesn't. It's not even like experimenting, right? Because like that's always the thing with Jimmy. Oh, they were experimenting, but a lot of times, right? Jimmy just wasn't fast during the summer. Denny's been fast still, but their execution has been terrible, and I don't think that's going to magically change.
And just to go off that, with the struggles he's had at the plate tracks, he's only had 1 top 10 finish at the Roval. I think if you're Denny Hamlin and you want to get to the round of 8, I think you're going to have to win Texas.
Even ignoring the thing is, for Toyotas this year, at least, you can even ignore their past success at the road course. They've just been bad.
Yep.
So you take a road course he already has not had a lot of success in, throw in the fact that the Toyotas have been terrible at the road courses this year. I think it's not crazy. I know a lot of people have him as a championship favorite. I would not be surprised if he made it to the Final Four. I really wouldn't. He has the speed to do it, but their execution is just a huge question mark. And this round is not that favorable to them.
No.
First race of the round of 8 is Las Vegas, where, similar to your reasoning for Kansas, I have Christopher Bell taking the checkered flag here. By this point, he'd be the only Toyota still alive in the playoffs. Had top 5 speed at Vegas. I think he lost a tire while running second or third. Got stuck because this was earlier in the year when every time they lost a tire, they just kept getting stuck. Got stuck, finished lap down at least, I think, but had a lot of speed.
I also have Bell winning at Vegas. You already mentioned it. It was very good here in the spring. Did have some tire issues, put him behind the 8 ball, did recover to get a top 10 finish. Did sit on the pole for this race too. So he definitely had a lot of speed here. The team's only gotten better throughout the season. Toyota's, again, good on the 1.5 miles. Probably should have won this race if it wasn't for a late yellow in the spring with Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. duking it out. I think by this point in time with Bell, in terms of my predictions, I think yours as well, being the only Toyota left, he's going to get all the focus. That's why I think he's going to win this race.
After Vegas, they head off to Homestead. Not quite at its spot I think most of us wish it was still at the championship race, but it is the second race in the round of 8. And I'm willing to guess who, if you don't have this guy, who you do have, but I have Tyler Reddick taking the victory here. Homestead, a great track for him. Still alive in the round of 8, so this will punch his ticket into the championship 4. and just one of his, probably actually his best track, and a track that you've at least drawn parallels to in Fontana, and I'm inclined to believe him because a lot of people do seem to run near the front of both of them. Reddick could have easily won that race earlier in the year. So I have Reddick winning at Homestead to punch his ticket into the championship 4.
There's the other guy, and that's Kyle Larson. He's going to win here eventually, and I honestly feel like if it's not him, it probably would be Tyler Reddick, just given how they have run here over the last couple of years. The fact that it's not the championship race, I just have a feeling Larson's going to go out there, he's going to do everything he needs to do, punch that ticket to Phoenix, where he could defend his championship. So,
for the penultimate race of the season at Martinsville, I have Chase Elliott punching his ticket into the championship 4, winning at Martinsville track. He's been great at, even probably led like over 500 laps the last 2 races combined. They need to figure out how to have the car at the second half of the race. But they did do that back in 2020, and I think he'll repeat that and win here at Martinsville to get into the Final 4, Championship 4.
I'm going with Joey Logano to do some Joey Logano things and pull out the win here to get the third spot here for the Championship 4. Logano was one of the only people, I don't know how many people would have noticed this because I was at the race. On TV, it might have looked a lot worse. But Logano seemed like in the spring, he was one of the few people that actually were able to make passes. He did get up to second spot there. I think they had a little bit of a long run car. Maybe he could have even made a pass on Byron if things worked out. Obviously wasn't able to do it on the late restart, but I don't know. Joey's, he's been up and down at Martinsville. Maybe not the best, for sure not the worst. But when his back's up against the wall, he finds a way. It would not be the first time that he's walked off into the championship 4 by winning at Martinsville. Wouldn't be the first time he's done it in this specific race 35. I believe he won at Phoenix back in 2016 to punch his ticket in. So he knows how to get it done in these situations. Martinsville, a pretty solid track for him. I like him to kind of shake it up because I don't think Logano's on a lot of people's radars, even though he is second in points heading into the playoffs.
For the Championship 4, obviously, I have Bell Reddick and Chase Elliott all winning to punch their ticket in. My 4th guy is Kyle Larson, meaning that I have Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric all eliminated in the round of 8.
Yep. I have Bell, Larson, and Logano in on wins. I have Chase Elliott getting that last spot on points. I think things work out for him in this scenario because you have Logano, who I believe is the number 2 seed. Is he the number 2 seed going into the playoffs? He is the
number 2 seed right now, yes.
So, yeah, and then you look at just the seeding. I mean, Ross is already out. Byron's already out. Hamlin's already out. So you got to go all the way back to Blaney. So coming into this, Chase, by picking up 2 wins in the earlier rounds, he's going to increase that buffer that he has, which is not as large as we're used to seeing, but still pretty big. I think he gets a break here with the guys winning, so it doesn't really put any pressure on him as long as he can keep the car clean through these 3 races. And it should be a relatively easy run to the Final 4 for Chase on points. That means Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, and Kevin Harvick are the 4 guys that I have out here. No, go on.
No, I was gonna say this might be just because we do this podcast, but I feel like our thoughts are quite similar here. I think in the round of 8, I think the only difference was that I had Suarez make it over Harvick, and in the championship 4, the only difference is I have Reddick making it over Logano. Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to bet our champion is very likely the same. But for the championship race, they head off to Phoenix. And this has been a crazy year, only made crazier in the playoffs as we have 2 first-time drivers in the championship 4 with Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell.
Well, for you.
Yeah, sorry, for me. You have 1. But even then, Larson, I think, is still under 30, right?
If he isn't, he's like 30.
In our 8 spots that we have for the championship 4, the old guy in this is Joey Logano, who is, all things considered, not that old. Mm-hmm. So it's a bunch of young blood, and that's exactly why in this crazy season, I think the trend will be broken. Kevin Harvick wins at Phoenix. Chase Elliott is the champion. And I think the trend's finally broken this year.
Yeah, I don't think that. Give me Chase Elliott. Probably should have won this race in the spring. His pit crew really screwed him over on a late pit stop. And
At
then
the
he
bare
ended up
minimum,
winning out.
they took away his chance to win the race.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it
Briscoe
would have
had
been hard. It would have been hard to pass Briscoe.
Briscoe had a
Yes.
very good car, but Chase should have at least been able to contend by his pit crew.
Yes.
Good old pit crew.
And I think I do get the logic behind thinking that we're going to have somebody that's not in the Final Four win this race, but I think you can make the argument at that point in the year, there were lots of people joking around saying Chase Elliott was the fourth best driver at Hendrick. And that team has gotten a lot better through the spring and the summer. He's clearly the best driver there right now. And I think just given how he ran there in the spring, he's going to use that as a springboard to go out there and win Phoenix yet again and win his second NASCAR Cup Series championship.
All right. Well, unlike the Truck Series playoffs, we do already have odds for the Cup Series champion. Chase Elliott, the guy we both picked to win the championship, is obviously the favorite. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. At plus 270. How do you feel about those odds, Brandon?
I mean, plus 270, if you think he's going to win the championship, obviously you're going to want to put money on him. I think with how crazy this year's been, I'm surprised right now it's not at plus 350, a plus 400 on him, but that might make it too easy for people to put, money on him. So I get why he's there. It's not the most, appealing bet, but it's okay.
I honestly kind of hate it. I would not bet this right now.
The year's been, yeah.
With how crazy this year's been, it's easy to look at. He has a huge points lead, so he's definitely been the most consistent. But it does not take much. If this was just, to get to the championship 4, get to the round of 8, I think he's a clear favorite to do that. But 270 to win the whole thing feels
it's not
too low of odds.
Too low. Right now, I think if Chase was plus 400,
yeah,
I would feel okay with that. I'll be honest, in terms of betting, I think Chase is going to win this. You always want to look at value. Two of the guys that I have making the Final Four, and Joey Logano and Christopher Bell, are plus 1,400 and plus 1,600. And I was kind of teasing this on the last episode of the podcast when I was talking about there's a guy with deep odds back in the field that I've already placed bets on. I believe is at plus 2,500. And that was Christopher Bell. And the fact that you could still get him at plus 1,600 going into this first round of the playoffs, that's the guy that I have circled. If you are going after anybody looking to make money here, Christopher Bell is your guy. He only went up from plus 2,500, like I said, just a couple weeks ago to plus 1,600. I think that's really good value still. It's definitely not going to hurt to put a little bit of money on him.
I feel like championship long odds are stupid. That's clearly not going to happen. But Austin Cindric at plus 7,000, I don't hate that.
That's so deep, I would agree.
he's getting more speed. The fact that he is 3,000 low or higher, I guess, than Chase Briscoe, double what Alex Bowman is, effectively plus 7,000 is a 1.5% chance to win the championship. I would give Austin Cindric more than a 1.5% chance to win the championship.
I mean,
with the speed they've shown, the bet I would absolutely avoid. It could wind up working out. Hendrick has the history with it, but William Byron at plus 1,800 feels like throwing money into the fire pit.
Yeah, no, that one does right now. He should be further back. I was gonna say with Cindric, I think I feel pretty confidently about him getting to the round of 8. I would say you probably do too. If you get to the round of 8, anything could happen, man. If somebody has a problem, it's going to be tough, especially if we have the winners that we think are going to win in that round. But if you got a shot in the round of 8, that's a hell of a lot better than plus 7,000 to just win the championship before the start of the playoffs, in my opinion. I feel like Cindric, if I'm making these odds, he should definitely be ahead of Bowman. I feel like he should probably be ahead of Suarez, maybe a little bit ahead of him. I don't know if he should be where Byron is, but Byron shouldn't be at plus 1,800 either. I'd probably slot Cindric somewhere around plus 3,000, plus 2,500. So you're getting really good odds with Austin Cindric if you wanted to really throw something out there. It's pretty tempting, actually, just looking at it right now.
So based on your opinion of what you said, I don't think you'd agree with this, but I actually do like Suarez as well at plus 3,000. I think over the last couple months, he's been just as fast, if not maybe even a little bit faster than Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain at 850 also feels potentially like throwing money down the fire pit. If all these drivers are all talk and no one's going to do anything, then Ross Chastain at 850 pretty good value. But based on how many people he's made angry, I do not like him at 850. I don't really like Denny at 700 either, just because of their execution issues. Just, I mean, in the last 6-7 races of the season, they could have easily won 3. One of them, they did cross the line first, but it's still like, especially what we learned from that, which is where it feels like that was genuinely a mistake and a miscommunication within the shop of that penalty of the tape being on there at Pocono. It still at the end boils down to an execution issue.
Chase Briscoe at plus 4,000. The only thing that I could think of that would make him there is the fact he won at Phoenix in the spring.
If I saw a path in the round of 8, but I just cannot see Briscoe getting through the round of 8. Even if he somehow got there, just those just aren't tracks I feel like I would expect him to do good enough to get through. I like Cindric way more in that round too. Just with the speed that they've shown.
Yeah. I mean, just going through here, is there anybody else you didn't really touch on in terms of the odds?
If he gets there, Tyler Reddick at 1,500, if he could just get to the round of 8, you could obviously win Homestead. Also had I think finished second or third at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Had a very good car at the end of the race. If Reddick gets to the round of 8, he could certainly walk away with the championship. And with the speed they've had, similar to everyone, I feel like your gut reaction, you have Reddick, it's like, yeah, but all the issues they've had. Everybody has had issues this year.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Even Chase, who has their best average finish, like 10.3 or whatever it is pretty low, honestly, for our best average finish. Not the lowest we've had recently, but it is pretty low. And they had their stretch from like Kansas up until I think he won at Nashville, where they couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad one. I feel like the only person we really haven't mentioned is Alex Bowman at plus 3,500, and even at plus 3,500, I would throw that into the William Byron category of just throwing your money in the fire right now.
I would easily take Alex Bowman at 3,500 over William Byron at 1,800, though.
It's fair. I would definitely agree with you on that. There's more money to be won. I feel like they've been pretty much the same driver for the second half of the year. So
3 other names. We've talked about them. I don't know if we talked about their odds that much. Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, both at plus 1,000. Kevin Harvick at plus 12,000 or 1,200. Sorry, 1,000 and 1,200. Kyle makes me uncomfortable at plus 1,000, just because they've also had a very, very bad last couple of months. Even the races that they finish in the top 10, they have issue. They finished 10th at Daytona, but the car was so screwed they finished 41 seconds back on what was like a 20-lap run. Finished, I think, still in the top 10 at Richmond and got in a wreck during that race. Blaney obviously has to start winning races. If he does that, he could. I think 1,000 is a great value. And Harvick at 1,200. I mean, if he gets to Phoenix, he might just straight up be the favorite, depending on his path to get there. So he's been one of the hottest drivers the last month. If you think that'll continue, I think 1,200 is pretty solid value for Kevin Harvick. But I do think Joey Logano might be Joey Logano. I think, and Austin Cindric, which when you're plus 7,000, it's not that hard. But I think those two. And it may be Bell, but Bell's probably in that group as well. I think, the 3 best value right now.
Well, I could definitely get behind that Christopher Bell one because I'm already on that train. So, but hey, all in all, I think we're going to have a really, really exciting postseason in the NASCAR Cup Series. Probably going to be one we're going to be talking about for a very long time, just given how wild the regular season's been. I feel like that is going to carry over to the postseason. Any final thoughts, Mark, before we wrap it up?
It's been a long 26 races, that wind up being 28 weeks. It's going to, I think, be a playoff that matches the same energy we've had all season long.
All right, well, there you have it. Those are our predictions for the playoffs. Can't wait for them to start in just a couple days when we get to Darlington for the Southern 500. It should be a really fun one down there in South Carolina. Hi, Brandon Monroe here. Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new content.